In order to indulge myself before marriage, my fiancé pretended to have amnesia and forgot about me. In the Rolls-Royce, a violent tremor shook the car. I openly bought one box after another of the measures and toys used by others, in full view right in front of me. She kissed all sorts of men, unable to pull away, simply because she was certain I loved her deeply. I would never leave her, because of the foolish mistakes she made while she was amnesiac. At the bar, they opened boxes and celebrated the success of their plot. She promised in front of her close friends that after a month, I would settle down and return to her side, come hers forever. Her friends praised her for her long-term devotion. Only one person silently asked, "That's what she said." But Gu Ping'an, with his strong sense of justice, if he knew the truth, he definitely wouldn't let it slide. Aren't you afraid he'll break up with you and leave? Yeah, Gu family's second young master messed up. His girlfriend ran abroad, and now he's chasing after her like a madman. Even though everyone spoke with such certainty, Yun Sumin didn't take it to heart at all. She shook the glass of wine in her hand, letting out a light laugh. He will only ever belong to me in this life, as long as his name is still Gupinga. It doesn't matter if he goes abroad or marries someone else. I will drag him back and keep him by my side forever. Hearing her resolute tone, everyone in the private room shouted, "Sister Man is amazing," and opened the champagne. Dragging my numbed body, I walked out of the bar with heavy steps. I stumbled away. Outside, it was pouring rain, but I seemed oblivious to the weather. I stumbled into the rain, disheartened. The cold raindrops hit my body. My trembling hands could no longer hold out. The bottle of medicine suddenly dropped to the ground. Watching the medicine, which I had struggled so hard to obtain, to treat the amnesia, wash away in the rain. Those long silent memories were completely awakened. The first time I met Yunsuma was at the New Year's Eve party in the first year of high school. I made my entrance to perform. The performance of Dream of Love stunned everyone. Yun Sumin fell in love with me at first sight. A little girl blocked the backstage holding a huge bouquet of roses, saying she wanted to pursue me. I had already heard of this school flower, who had more than 20 boyfriends in just a month since the start of school. Charming and full of allure. I didn't like Yun Sumin, this kind of flirtatious girl, especially because my parents' marriage had collapsed due to mutual infidelity. So I held a very strict view of relationships. Facing her pursuit, I turned a blind eye and avoided her as much as possible. But she seemed bewitched, relentlessly chasing after me. No matter how many times I rejected her, she wouldn't let go. She even pulled the school's main power switch so I could rest when I was sick. On stage, she boldly declared her love for me in front of all the teachers and students. She rejected every boy's confession on my behalf. Day after day, she persisted for 3 years. Yet I still didn't relent. Till that summer after the college entrance exams, I was cornered by a delinquent girl in an alley. For me, Yun Suma fought with the 4 or 5 people the delinquent had brought. She was stabbed 4 or 5 times and almost lost her life. I cried uncontrollably by her bedside, unable to understand how anyone could be willing to risk their life for someone else. In that moment, I thought, she's the one. 7 years together, from our youthful school days to stepping into society. Yun Sumin always treated me the same as she did at first. Everyone said I had found true love and could turn my life around. I thought so too. Till 3 months before the wedding, she had a car accident while on a business trip, and the doctor diagnosed her with amnesia. She remembered everyone, except for me. The news hit me so hard that I almost broke down. But in the end, I managed to hold out. I tried everything. Ran from place to place seeking medical advice. Stayed up all night reading through medical journals, all just to help her regain her memory sooner. But I never expected this amnesia was nothing but an elaborate setup. All the courage and determination that kept me going were washed away by the heavy rye. I numbly returned home, went through all my documents, then made a trip to the police station. Faced with the questioning eyes of the staff, I spoke hoarsely. "Hello, I want to change my name." After looking over the materials, the staff handed me a pay. I trembled as I signed both my old and new names. Staring at the unknown new name, a bitter smile tugged at my lips. From now, no matter where I go, or what I do, Sumin would never find me a guy. After completing the paperwork, it was already dark. I hailed a cab, picked up my phone and searched for flight tickets. Although the name change had been submitted, it still required a month for processing. So I booked a ticket for next month, a flight to Melbourne on the 1st. Then I confirmed my acceptance of the study abroad offer. Since graduation, I had been preparing for further studies abroad. But because Yun Sumin said she couldn't live without me, she didn't want to do a long-distance relationship. So the plan to study abroad was delayed for 3 more years. Now I've decided to cancel the wedding and this relationship and leave everything in the past behind. I must start thinking of myself and begin a new life. After returning home, I changed out of my wet clothes, washed up and then rested. That night, I slept more peacefully than I had in the past month. The next morning, I got up and had breakfast. Then I cleared away everything related to Yun Suma. Her gifts to me, the couple clothes we bought, the love letters from our school days. Filled 5 boxes. I dragged them all out of the villa and threw everything into the trash. Just as I was busy, a limited edition sports car suddenly stopped by the roadside. I turned around at the sound and saw Yun Suma. She got out of the car, arm in arm with a man, walking confidently. Even when she saw me, she didn't flinch or turn away. I knew that the reason she was so unashamed was because she was certain I would distance myself from everything she did during her amnesia. From the start, Yun Sumin had never acknowledged me as her boyfriend. She even had my things thrown out of the villa. I thought I was going to end up on the streets. But then the neighbor contacted me and said they were going abroad. They rented the place to me at the lowest price. At the time, I thought I was just lucky. But now I see. It was all just a play she directed. She was afraid I might really leave. So she used this trick to keep me around. Looking back at the past month, when I was fooled, I can only laugh. I don't care what act she's putting on today. Turning around, I lifted the last box and tossed it into the trash. Just as Yun Sumin was passing by, she glanced at what I had thrown away. Her face immediately turned cold. "Why did you throw all these things away?" I gave her a quick glance and replied in a flat tone, "Weren't you supposed to have amnesia? How do you remember these things?" Yun Sumin then realized she had slipped up. She quickly adjusted her expressio and pretended not to care, just asking casually, "I could never remember. Past is past. Now is I only like Zhang Yida now. After all, when I had the accident in Nanzhou, he was the only one who took care of me." An accident? Even the amnesia was just an act? Where did this accident come from? I faintly curled my lips and glanced at the man Yun Sumin was holding. He wore a blue windbreaker with broad shoulders and a narrow waist. His eyes filled with pride, a face I had never seen before. It seemed that in this phase of her life, he was the most satisfying bed partner Yun Sumin had ever had, which is why she brought him back with such fanfare. I didn't want to waste any more words with her. I simply grunted and turned to enter the villa. As I walked away without looking back, Yun Sumin's eyelids twitched. She brought him back. Wasn't Ping'an supposed to cry and get jealous? Why was he so calm? Yun Sumin sensed something was wrong, but didn't chase after me to explain. She could only watch as I disappeared behind the door. At 8 p.m., the doorbell suddenly rang. I put down the bag I was packing and stood up to open the door. It was the man Yun Sumin had just brought back. He raised his hand and waved. He wore a smile on his face, but it didn't reach his eyes. Hello, my name is Jong Yeater. I'll be staying at my girlfriend's house for a while, since we're neighbors now. Would you mind sharing your contact info? No need. I rejected him without a second thought and turned to walk away. Jong Yeater snatched the phone out of my hand and quickly added me on WeChat. Seeing my face dark, he handed the phone back with a gree. His tone light and casual. Let's be friends. We'll need to keep in touch more often. By the way, do you have any condoms at home? I used up the last box I bought today. Could you lend me a few? A wave of pallor crossed my face. My hand, which took the phone back, trembled slightly. No! But Jong Yeater wouldn't let it go. The mockery in his eyes was unmasked. Well, I asked the wrong person. Since Sister Man doesn't want you anymore, how could you have any? I knew he was deliberately provoking me. I didn't want to engage with him. I pulled the door shut, but Jong Yeater grabbed the handle and fell to the ground using the momentum. Tears started falling from his eyes. Brother, I know you don't want to see me, but I just came to borrow some seasoning. I wanted to cook a meal for Sister Man. If you don't want to lend it, then fine. Why do you have to get physical? Seeing Jong Yeater suddenly put on such an act, my heart skipped a beat. Before I could react, I didn't even realize when she had come on. Yun Sumin rushed up the steps and yanked him up. She looked up at me, her eyes cold, her tone laced with concealed anger. Jong Yeater has no grudge against you. Why are you causing trouble? He's my boyfriend now. Please be polite to him. After saying these words, she didn't even glance at my expressio and left with him without a word. Each word fell in my ears like a hammer. It made me unconsciously clench my fists. I stared at their figures disappearing into the dusk. With a blank expression, I picked up my phone. With a loud bang, the door slammed shut. In the early hours of the morning, the phone on my nightstand started vibrating. Woken by the sound, I rubbed my eyes and instinctively pressed the answer button. The next second, the screen switched, revealing a large patch of snow-white skin covered with hickeys. The sounds of ambiguous moans echoed, mixed with heavy, labored breathing. Watching the shaky camera capture those unseemly images, I became fully awake. When I realized what the person on the other end of the line was doing, I froze like a statue. A few seconds later, Yun Sumin's voice came through the speaker, her voice low and full of desire. From now on, don't go bother Ping An next door. You've already seen through all my little tricks. Then why are you still on my side? Do you particularly like my body? Don't you want to be honest with him? Still want to enjoy it? Hearing her rare teasing, Yun Sumin groaned and patted his abs. Since you already know, why ask anything? After a moment of silence, the camera focused on Yun Sumin's face. Watching her enjoy herself so freely, a chill spread through my heart. I bit my lower lip tightly. The bitter taste in my mouth spread. The heavy breathing grew more urgent. And finally, I couldn't hold back anymore. I pressed the hang-up button. In my drowsy eyes, tears began to fill up. I looked up, not wanting the tears to fall. Countless memories flashed in my mind. In the past, when we were tender, she would always care for my feelings. Afraid I wasn't comfortable, she thought too much. I guess I never truly felt satisfied. Now, she wouldn't have to worry anymore. She wouldn't need to plot so hard for a fleeting moment of pleasure. From now on, I would give her freedom. In the following days, I stayed indoors until the day of my good friend's wedding. I finally gathered my emotions and went out. Arriving at the hotel, I took advantage of the time before the wedding began to deliver the gift I had prepared in advance. The two of us exchanged pleasantries. My friend grabbed my hand, laughing with his eyes curving up. Ping in. I sent Yun Sumin an invitation. She agreed to come. Go her up later. Talk to her more. Maybe she remember the moment you proposed to her and regain her memory. I stayed silent for a moment, shaking my head. As the smile, my face slowly faded. A hint of concern flashed in my friend's eyes. What's wrong? Don't you want to keep holding on? I was about to answer when I saw Yun Sumin and Jong Yeater appear at the door. My friend followed my gaze, seeing them with their arms around each other. His face turned red with anger. He was about to go over and teach them a lesson. I quickly stopped him, my voice filled with exhaustio. Forget it. Just a little longer. It will be over soon. My friend didn't understand what I meant. He was about to ask. But the best man came over. The wedding was about to start. Ashao, let's go, it's time. I finally convinced my friend to go on stage. As the wedding march played in the living room, I took a deep breath and returned to the main hall. All the guests were seated. Only the seat next to Yun Sumin was still empty. After a moment's hesitation, I walked over and sat down. During the wedding ceremony, Jong Yeater kept pestering Yun Suma, asking her to help him pick food. She responded to every word, pouring wine, blowing on soup, so considerate. Even when he fed her the dessert he had already eaten, she ate it without hesitation. Seeing how close they were, I turned my eyes away and looked toward the center of the stage. I couldn't eat, so I didn't pick up my chopsticks. My friend's mother, sitting beside me, served me some food, urging me to eat more. I didn't want to reject her kindness, so I took a dumpling. But Yun Sumin, sitting beside me, saw it and directly reached over to take the dumpling. Are you trying to kill yourself? This is seafood filling. You're allergic, you can't eat it. I watched the dumpling roll around on the ground for a few circles. I lifted my head and gave her a deep stare. Yun Sumin then realized what had happened. Her expression awkwardly shifted and she quickly tried to explain. My aunt never buys seafood. I've told her many times, but she still does it. After saying that, she didn't dare look at my expression anymore. Turning aside, she started peeling shrimp. Jong Yeater leaned close to her ear, whispered something. I didn't know what he said, but Yun Sumin's eyes darkened. She put down what she was holding, grabbed him, and left. I didn't care where they went until the bouquet toss ceremony ended. I finally stood up and went to the bathroom. Just as I reached the door, I heard continuous slapping sounds coming from inside. I stopped in my tracks, holding my breath. After a few quiet minutes, a seductive female voice came from the innermost stall. Why are you so naughty, coming to a wedding, wearing this kind of outfit? Don't you like it? After a pause, a light laugh followed. Of course, I like it. I lifted my head. I stared at the sign above my head. My fingers dug deep into my palm. The sound of footsteps echoed down the hallway. The bathroom fell silent once more. I gave one last glance at the tightly shut stall. With red eyes, I turned and left. At 3 p.m., the wedding was over. After exchanging pleasantries with my friends, I went downstairs. Exiting the elevator, I spotted the familiar sports car parked on the road. I pretended not to see it. I was about to hail a taxi when Jong Yeater appeared from nowhere and grabbed my hand. Manji had to leave early for work. She left the car for me. We live nearby. I'll drive you home. Without thinking, I refused. But Jong Yeater wouldn't list. He shoved me into the passenger seat, locked the doors, and slammed the gas pedal. He drove quickly. I could only buckle my seatbelt. On the way, Jong Yeater, using casual conversation as an excuse, kept subtly bragging. You knew Manji was pretending to have amnesia, didn't you? Why didn't you just say it? My eyes froze for a moment. My face remained cold. It's none of your business. How could it not be? I'd love to stand by Manji's side openly. Be her fiance. Even if she doesn't feel that way right now. But you know, she really likes my body. She eventually fall for me. Do you believe me? I didn't respond to him. I turned my head and looked out the window. Seeing I wasn't engaging with him, Jang Yido got frustrated. He teased me some more. I simply closed my eyes and pretended he didn't exist. This dismissive attitude made Jang Yido furious. He looked at the upcoming turn in the road, and with a sudden resolve, he slammed the steering wheel, sending us into the tour. Bang! The violent jolt threw me forward uncontrollably. I opened my eyes and saw glass shards flying toward me. Instinctively, I raised my hand to shield myself. Blood from my arm dripped down. I hit the side door. A sharp pain shot through my head, and everything went black. I passed out. I don't know how much time passed. A noisy commotion echoed in my ears. Both patients need immediate surgery, but currently there's only one doctor available. The patient who doesn't get timely treatment could risk permanent disability. Miss Yun, who would you like to save? Hearing those words, I forced myself to wake up. I squeezed out two words through my throat. Yun Sumin. I still photography. My hand cannot any problems. The warm little hand that had been holding my left hand suddenly loosened after hearing the sound. Just as I opened my eyes, I caught a fleeting moment of panic on Yun Sumin's face. She placed her hand on Jang Yida's shoulder and spoke in a low voice. Save Jang Yida first. I don't know how long it was. In the darkness, I kept falling until I slowly regained some consciousness. It was probably the effect of the anesthetic. I couldn't open my eyes for the moment. I could only hear some sounds around me. It was a conversation between two people. Their voices sounded very familiar. Manji, you've made such a big mess. How are you going to end this? Gu Ping'an values his hands more than his life. And you're saving Jang Yida first? Do you want to harm him? How could I want to harm him? It's just that he woke up at the right time. If I agreed to save him first, then the whole amnesia thing wouldn't make sense. There are still 20-something days left. I want to play a little longer. It won't let Ping'an be harmed. Is it fine? Didn't you hear the doctor say? If we wait another minute before the surgery, Gu Ping'an's hand will be completely useless. If he wakes up and knows the truth, you and he will have no future. The person holding my hand seemed very nervous after hearing this. Her palm was covered in sweat. A few minutes later, she placed a kiss on my forehead. Her tone full of certainty. He won't know. I've arranged everything. In 23 days, the doctor will announce that I've regained my memory. Everything will be the same as before. After a long sigh, someone left the room, and another stayed by my bedside, keeping watch, muttering softly, Ping'an, our wedding is coming soon. I've already bought the wedding rings. When I regain my memory, you'll see them. After we get our marriage certificate, I'll take you to see the aurora, okay? Do you remember the wish you made when we celebrated our 3rd anniversary? You said you wanted to be with me forever. I was so happy. I also want to grow old with you. As the anesthetic slowly wore off, I remembered this chattering voice. It was her, my fiancée, Yun Suma. She seemed to care a lot about me. She called the doctor to check on me every half hour. She even kindly fed me water, tucking the blankets around me, never leaving my side, until I fully woke up. All the tenderness poured onto me. Like the tide had hurriedly receded. Watching her quickly leave the hospital room, avoiding my gaze, a trace of sarcasm flashed in my eyes. A few minutes later, the nurse came in to check on me. I noticed how she carefully hid the medical record. I spoke hoarsely. Who's been taking care of me here? The nurse's eyes darted around. She hesitated before replying. I'm not really sure. Maybe it's the caregiver? I only felt exhausted. I picked up my phone, glancing at the time. December 8th. I had been unconscious for 3 days. The only messages in my inbox were advertisements and balance notifications. I closed my eyes, silently praying. hoping the name change process would be completed soon. For a long time after, Yun Sumin didn't appear, but Jong Yida sent me many messages every day. Half of them were pictures of them showing off their love. The other half were videos of them in bed. I never opened any of them. I set my phone to do not disturb. On December 15th, I went to handle my discharge procedures. I threw away everything else and left the hospital with just my medicine. As I was approaching the exit, I happened to run into a senior from college who had once pursued me. We exchanged pleasantries for a moment. But just as I was enjoying the conversation, Yun Sumin suddenly appeared from nowhere and pulled me away. Her face was so dark it could drip water. Her eyes filled with malice as she glared at me, her voice dripping with bitterness. Who allowed you to get so close to her? I glanced at her. Using some force, I pulled my wrist free from her grip. With a mocking tone, I said, "Aren't you supposed to have amnesia? Didn't you deny I was your boyfriend? I'll talk to whoever I want to talk to. It's not your place to control me, is it?" After saying that, I didn't care about her reaction. I hailed a cab and left. Yun Sumin, left speechless, could only watch me leave helplessly. After resting for a while, I slowly recovered. In my free time, I roughly calculated the costs for studying abroad, realizing it was quite a large sum. Coincidentally, an old client of mine introduced a big business deal. With nothing else to do, I decided to take it out. When I arrived at the site, I realized it was a banquet. When I saw Yun Sumin holding Jong Yida's hand, I froze. A bad premonition stirred in my heart, but the deposit had already been paid. I could only suppress the strange feeling and pulled out my camera. Seeing me, Jong Yida immediately came over. With a big smile, "Excuse me, please take the photos from a low angle. Also lower the brightness a bit. Once I go on stage, zoom in the camera a little." Following his long list of demands, I took over 100 photos, but Jong Yida still wasn't satisfied. He insisted on retaking the shots. I patiently retook 3 or 4 versions. My injured wrist started aching again. Jong Yida took a look, and a mocking expression appeared on his face. "How did this turn out like this? Gu, the great photographer. Looks like you're not as amazing as the rumors say. Let's just use the first version. At least it has a few decent shots." People around us covered their mouths, laughing quietly. I rubbed my numb knees and braced myself to stand up. I made a nonchalant sound. Jong Yida became even more pleased with himself. He walked over to Yun Suma and affectionately threw himself into her arms. Then he turned back to wave at me and arrogantly said, "Come over and help me take a few pictures with my girlfriend." My gaze sharpened, but quickly returned to indifference. I raised the camera, aimed the lens at the two of them, and pressed the shutter. Jong Yida posed countless times. Finally, he leaned down and kissed Yun Suma. Instantly, the whole room erupted in cheers. A perfect match. Watching these beautiful people in love is a treat for the eyes. Such a huge banquet, and they made it happen so easily. Anything the birthday star wants, Yun Ya will agree to. She's so spoiled. Hearing these cheers, Yun Sumin's body stiffened for a moment. She released her hold on Jong Yida and nervously looked at me. But I didn't react. I kept my head down, flipping through the photos on my camera, seemingly indifferent to what had just happened. At 11 p.m., this 4-hour event finally came to an end. I put the camera back in my bag, took out a tissue to wipe off the cake that Jong Yida had accidentally spilled on my clothes. In the empty hall, suddenly the sound of footsteps echoed. I looked up and saw Jong Yida, grinning, walking straight toward me. "You've worked hard tonight. Are you short on money? I have another set of photos I need your help with. The price can double. Will you take it?" Double? I hesitated for a moment, but nodded in agreement. Jong Yida immediately led me upstairs to the hotel. We quickly set the angles and content for the shoot. As I set up the camera in the corner, Someone knocked on the door. Zhang Yida didn't rush to open it. He flashed me a knowing smile. "It's about to start. Remember to capture everything, okay?" he said as he moved closer. He pulled the curtains covering the corner, leaving only a small gap for the camera. I curled up in the narrow space, listening to the footsteps that grew louder. He bent down. Under the warm yellow light, Zhang Yida slowly approached, pulling a woman's clothes, their bodies pressed tightly together, clothes occasionally falling to the ground. The sound of heavy breathing filled the air. In the camera, I saw Yan Suma kissing Zhang Yida, unable to pull away. My hand resting on the tripod suddenly tightened. She didn't know I was in the room. Well, she recklessly played with Zhang Yida, creating a mess. "What surprises have you prepared tonight? You've got everything you love. There are several outfits waiting for you to tear them apart." Such a tease. One day, you'll end up getting it all over you. The desire in the room grew more intense. Listening to the unceasing sounds, I was beginning to numb myself. It felt like something was blocking my chest. I was suffocating. Breathing became difficult. Time seemed to slow down. Each second was hard to hold on to. At 3 a.m., the noise in the room stopped. The sound of water from the bathroom filled the air. I pulled back the curtain, dragging my numb legs out. I stepped over the clothes scattered on the floor and placed the memory card on the table. I opened the door with a soft sound. A low voice came from the bathroom. "What was that sound? Someone? How could anyone be here at this hour?" "Don't worry about it. Let's do it again." The bathroom door cracked open slightly, then quickly shut again. I turned to look at the reflection in the glass and turned to close the door. The streets were empty in the early morning. No cars either. I wandered aimlessly alone, a constant buzz in my ears. My mind, though, was empty. I didn't know how long I had been walking until the sky began to light. I lifted my bruised eyes and realized, without noticing, I had returned to my high school. The campus at 7 a.m. was very quiet. I walked alone along the school path, looking around in a daze. Old memories slowly began to stir. Yun Sumin pulling me to run the 800 meters on the track. The small chapel filled with roses for my birthday. She confessed her love for me in front of the entire school on the flag-raising platform. Everything was just like the past. But for me, being here, I felt so different. I reached the teaching building and bumped into the headmaster, who had just arrived for work. Because of Yun Sumin's loud pursuit of me in the past, all the teachers almost recognized me. The principal greeted me with a smile. "Gu Ping-an, what brings you back to school all of a sudden? Where's Yun Sumin? I heard you two got engaged recently. Are you here to deliver wedding invitations?" I forced a smile and changed the topic. "I haven't been back in a long time. I was just passing by, so I thought I'd stop by to see the teachers." We walked and talked, talking about many past events, filled with emotions. Before parting, the principal seemed to remember something. He took a yellow diary from the office drawer and handed it to me. "This is the one I collected during study hall when I checked the discipline." It was from Yun Sumin's hands. "Since you two are about to marry, I'll return it to you." I nodded, took it and bowed to the principal. On the way back, I opened the diary and saw Yun Sumin's flowing handwriting. Every page had the same name writ. It was filled with youthful thoughts. As I kept reading, my nostrils burned. Tears uncontrollably streamed down. With each drop, it was both a nostalgic longing for the past and a form of goodbye. When the car stopped at the Via's gate, I had already calmed the turbulent emotions. I closed the diary, opened the car door, and looked up, locking eyes with Yun Sumin, who had just returned. Looking at the crimson kiss marks on her neck, I thought of what had happened last night. I shifted my gaze Yun Sumin noticed that I seemed to have been crying. Her brows furrowed. She was about to ask, trying to be subtle. But Jong Yeater, standing next to her, saw my red eyes and chuckled to himself. Thank you for your hard work yesterday. I've already sent the payment. The photos you took, I'm very satisfied with them. You must be satisfied too, right? Hearing his insinuating tone, Yun Sumin's heart skipped a beat. Satisfied with what? The birthday photos from earlier in the night. Otherwise, what else? From the later part of the night, seeing his carefree, unfiltered way of speaking, Yun Sumin's heart sank. She quickly covered his mouth, but he threw her a flirtatious look, gently biting her finger. Watching the two of them flirt openly, I had already become immune. I turned and walked back home. As I passed the trash car, I casually threw the diary inside. Those youthful, love-filled pages were completely buried. Before leaving, I messaged the landlord to inform them that I wouldn't be renewing the lease. The landlord kept asking why I was moving out. I casually gave an excuse. The landlord said they could give me a few extra days, letting me stay until mid-next month. I knew it was Yun Sumin who had instructed them behind my back. She asked me to stay a few more days and pretend to regain my memory. Then she could take me back home. I didn't expose their plans and agreed to it. 3 days before leaving, I received a call from an unknown number. Mr. Gu? Hello! This is the manager of the Hilton Hotel, the one where you hosted your engagement banquet. Here's the thing. Your fiancée previously booked our main hall. She said she wanted to hold the wedding banquet here the day after tomorrow, but we've been unable to contact her recently. There are some details that need to be confirmed. Would you be able to come by and discuss them? I had planned to refuse, but hearing the mention of the day after tomorrow, my eyelashes fluttered slightly. January 1st was the date Yun Sumin decided to pretend to regain her memory, and also the day I had planned to leave. I agreed and took a cab over. Entering the lobby and seeing the decorations, I fell into silence. From the flowers to the ornaments, everything was identical to the setting Yun Sumin had created when she proposed to me. It felt like being transported back in time. I momentarily couldn't tell what was past and what was present as I stood there. The manager who came in with me was about to introduce me, but then received a call and left. I walked up to the second floor and looked down, and couldn't help but recall the scene of Yun Sumin holding the flowers and the ring, making her promise to love only me for a lifetime. I eagerly awaited the married life we were about to begin. Who would have thought? Just 3 months later, everything had dissipated like clouds, vanishing without a trace. As I pondered, the door suddenly swung open. Yun Sumin, in a pink dress, walked in holding a bouquet of flowers. Behind her, Jong Yeater saw the dreamlike scene and couldn't help but exclaim, a hint of anticipation flickering in his eyes. Sister man, why bring someone here? Yun Sumin snapped her fingers, her face full of pride. This is where I proposed to Ping An and held our engagement party. In 2 days, I plan to bring a few friends and bring Ping An here. Then I'll be able to pretend to be overwhelmed by the memories and naturally recall the past. Today, I brought you here to rehearse it first. You'll play Ping An, and we'll see if there's any part we missed. As she said this, she pushed Jong Yeater to the center of the stage and started acting. The huge pillar blocked me from view completely. I quietly watched them act out their scene with deep sincerity. A flicker of light crossed my eyes. I couldn't deny it. Yun Sumin really had a talent for acting. If I were completely unaware of everything, 3 days later I came here, maybe she would really fool me. Fortunately, I wasn't that unlucky yet. Downstairs, the process had already reached the forgiveness stage. Jong Yeater kissed Yun Suma. The originally passionate atmosphere gradually started to sour from that moment. The white suit was smeared with lipstick, and the pink dress was dragging on the floor. Yun Sumin looped her arms around the man's neck. Her tone was teasing and casual. Anyone could walk in here at any moment. And you just can't help but flirt with me? Only 3 days left. Don't you understand that a moment of spring night is worth 1,000 gold? Besides, this is one of the most important moments in your life. Isn't it exciting to have one last fling? Looking at his seduced demeanor, Yun Sumin squinted her eyes, letting out a light laugh. So many tricks. How else could I make sure you'll remember me? If you feel unsatisfied after going back to him, you can always contact me. Hearing this, Yun Sumin raised her hand and pinched his chi. A flash of clarity appeared in her eyes. Her tone filled with certainty. There won't be a later. 3 days from now, everything will be over. I will only belong to Ping An. Is that so? I lowered my eyes, hiding the mocking glint in them. I gave her an answer in my heart. Unfortunately, Yun Suma, I don't want you anymore. 2 days before leaving, I received the news that my name change process was complete. I went out, picked up my new ID card and passport. By the time I got home, it was already evening. The weather was a bit cold. I rubbed my hands together as I got out of the car. But when I looked up, I saw Yun Sumin waiting at the door. She seemed to be waiting for me to come back. Seeing the uncertainty flicker in my eyes, her tone was filled with hesitation. Where did you go? I unlocked the door with my key and answered calmly. Anything wrong? Yun Sumin put her hand in her pocket, pretending to act casual. No, it's fine. The weather forecast says there will be heavy rain tomorrow. Don't go out if it's not necessary. Since it's fine, you don't need to go out. She clearly was worried she wouldn't find me tomorrow, but she came up with such a clumsy excuse. I really wanted to laugh, but I held it. I nodded. Got it. My indifferent expressio. Yun Sumin felt a strange sense of unease. She couldn't help but think that something about my behavior lately felt off. But she couldn't put her finger on what exactly was wrong. The day I left, I got up early. With a flight at 2 p.m., I threw away everything I had left. Looking at the empty room, with just 2 suitcases remaining, I let out a long breath. At 11 a.m., the doorbell rang. I opened the door, just enough to create a small gap. I found it was a few of Yun Sumin's good friends. Brother-in-law, we know you've been feeling down. Because of Manji's illness and how mentally exhausting it's been, you haven't had the energy for anything. The doctor said a few days ago that she's been taking her medication regularly. Her condition is slowly improving. You don't need to worry anymore. Yes. We all hope we can recover her memory soon. We've been waiting for your wedding. Today happens to be your 7th anniversary. We've prepared a small surprise for you. I quietly listened to them recite the lines they had prepared in advance. I cooperated and asked, "What surprise?" "You'll know when you come with us." Before I could answer, one of them received a phone call. A minute later, they changed their story. "Sister-in-law, something happened. The surprise will have to wait a little. You go ahead and stay busy. We'll come to pick you up later tonight." After saying this, they left, running into the rye. Watching their car disappear in the rye, I turned around and started unloading my luggage. 10 minutes later, a taxi stopped in front of the house. The driver helped me with the luggage and walked ahead. I held the umbrella and walked along the wall, leaving the villa. When I passed by the car parked next door, I heard some strange sounds coming from inside. In the light patter of rye, a man's voice was full of allure. "Didn't you say you were going to regain your memory and come back to reality? Sister, you're so irresistible. How could I bear to leave? We still have time tonight. Let's do it again." I stopped in my tracks. I turned my body. Looking at the increasingly shaking sports car, my heart tightened, and a tear fell down. The driver, who had already placed my luggage in the trunk, called out from a distance, "Mr. Gu, are you getting in the car?" I calmly wiped away my tears. "Yun Sumin, this is the last time. I'll shed tears for you." I lifted my foot, walked to the passenger side, closed the umbrella and got. The moment the door closed, The sports car's window rolled down. I didn't look at Yun Sumin's confused eyes, nor did I hear Jang Yida's voice saying you must have misunderstood. I took out the expired ID card and broke it in half. Seeing my actions, the driver asked, puzzled, "Don't you need the ID card anymore?" I nodded, with a calm tone. "It's expired. I don't need it. From now on, everything will be a brand new beginning. Everything related to Gu Ping'an. I don't want it anymore." At 5 p.m., the rain, which had been falling all day, finally stopped. Yun Sumin opened the car door and waved her hand outside, indicating to Jang Yida, who was still buttoning his shirt, to get out of the car. He pouted, glaring at her, preparing to ask for a kiss. Looking at the time on the car's screen, Yun Sumin turned her head to avoid him, her tone lazy. "Stop, sister, I'm just..." Yun Sumin interrupted him, her tone carrying an undeniable authority. "I told you from the start, we're just playing a 2-month-long game. And now the time's up. It's time for you to exit." Seeing her cold demeanor, Jang Yida reluctantly got out of the car. Yun Sumin rolled down the window, pressed the accelerator. The desire that had filled the car was blown away by the wind. She looked at the shortening distance on the navigatio and gave a faint smile. When the car stopped in the Hilton Hotel's garage, she didn't go to the main hall. Instead, she went straight upstairs. After an afternoon of playing around, her clothes were all wrinkled. She needed to freshen up. Before entering the bathroom, she made a few calls to her friends, giving them some instructions. Her friends on the other end all laughed in unison. "Sister man, don't worry. Ping'an promised us he'd come this morning. We're already on our way to pick him up. Yeah, just focus on how you're going to act tonight. This won't be easy. You've been playing this act for 2 months now, and no mistakes have happened. Why are you all so worried? Gu Ping'an is deeply in love with you. He definitely won't suspect anything." Yun Sumin was too lazy to listen to their chatter. She laughed and muttered a few words, throwing her phone carelessly on the couch. Half an hour later, she came out drying her hair and heard the continuous ringing of her phone. She opened the screen and saw over 20 missed calls. Her heart rate suddenly sped up. Suppressing her panicked emotions, she pressed the answer button. "Why are you calling so much? Is something wrong?" "Sister man, we've been knocking on the villa door for over 10 minutes. Ping'an hasn't come out. We haven't received any response, and his phone is off. What should we do? We can't get in touch with him." Yun Sumin furrowed her brows. Her good mood was completely ruined. "He's probably just asleep. Go to my house. Take the spare key from Auntie. Go in and check on him. Be careful. Don't scare him." Her friends agreed immediately. Yun Sumin pressed her temples while changing into clean clothes. She mentally reviewed the schedule for the evening. After getting dressed, she grabbed her things and headed downstairs. The hotel manager noticed her. The hotel manager quickly and eagerly greeted her. "Miss Yun, please take a look at the setup. Let us know if there's anything you're not satisfied with. We'll make adjustments right away." Yun Sumin gave a quick SCA. She nodded in satisfaction. "Not bad. You've perfectly recreated the proposal scene. You've got a good memory." Upon receiving her approval, the hotel manager smiled even more ingratiatingly. "Miss Yun, we're glad you're pleased. Actually, we owe it to your fiancé. A few days ago, I couldn't remember the position of some of the ornaments, so I asked him to come over and help. He was the one who finalized everything." "Fiancé?" Hearing those words, Yun Sumin's expression froze. She stared intensely at the manager, her voice laced with anger. "Who allowed you to contact him? This is the surprise we prepared for him, don't you know?" Seeing her anger, the manager was so scared he started stammering. "I couldn't get in touch with you, so I asked him to help. I didn't know you wanted to keep it a secret. I thought since you're engaged now, that's why... A month planning had all come to nothing." Yun Sumin's face turned red with fury. She clenched her fists. Just as she was about to explode, her phone rang. A guy. Sister man, something's wrong. Gu Pingon is missing. Recalling what the manager just said, I felt dizzy. Go look for him. Hearing her angry tone, the people on the other end of the line sounded like they were about to cry. It's not that we haven't searched. It's just that the villa is empty. We checked the surveillance. He packed up his things this morning and left with a suitcase at noon. We don't know where he went. Each word hit Yun Sumin like thunder. She froze in place. Noon. A taxi. The voice on the phone sang Mr. Gu. All the memories she had ignored came flooding back. The confused manager kept explaining. Actually, even if I didn't call Mr. Gu, it seems he already knew. That day, he asked me a lot of questions. And before leaving, he gave me a box to give to you tonight. Saying this, the manager handed her the box. Looking at the ring box offered by his hands, Yun Sumin felt like she couldn't breathe. Her hands trembled as she opened it, and immediately saw the dazzling engagement ring. Next to it, there was a pink buto. She stared at the buto. Suddenly, 3 days ago, when she left the hotel, Zhang Yida's complaint echoed in her mind. Next time, when we're out, tone it down. You tore off the button on my shirt. Everyone is laughing at me. She remembered the dress she had torn off with her own hands and helped him put back. Oh, it was pink. Yun Sumin felt a surge of anger rising within her. She grabbed the manager's collar, her eyes wide with fury. What date was it? 3 days ago. Mr. Gu came at around 2 p.m. and left at 5 p.m. Hearing this answer, Yun Sumin felt herself near breaking down. She snatched the ring from the manager's hands and crazily rushed to the garage, running through over 10 red lights. She sped down the road. In 10 minutes, she reached her home. The lights in the neighboring villa were still bright. She barged straight. The people there had turned the house upside down, but still found nothing related to Gu Pinga. When they saw her, they quickly gathered around her. Sister man, we couldn't find a single hair of his. We really don't know where he went. I had someone check the travel list. There's no sign of Gu Ping'an in the list of travelers leaving Beijing North this past month. The bad news that followed made Yun Sumin's heart plunge into despair. She frantically grabbed her phone and dialed Gu Ping'an's number. But all she heard was the cold shutdown tone. And all the messages she sent were rejected. A huge red exclamation mark made her feel dizzy. They had never seen her so out of control. Everyone started to comfort her at once. Sister man, pull yourself together. He just left. It's not too late to find him. Yes, we can directly check his phone. We'll definitely find him. Hearing these suggestions, Yun Sumin barely regained some composure. She quickly messaged her secretary, telling him to investigate thoroughly. An hour that felt like a year passed. Finally, the secretary replied, President Yun, we found Mr. Gu's phone in a trash can at the bus station. We're urgently checking the list of incoming travelers, but there are unregistered taxis outside the station. There might be some mistakes or oversights. It wasn't exactly good news, but it was still better than having no clue. Yun Sumin couldn't sit still anymore. Ignoring their warnings, she went straight to the bus station. When she arrived, the secretary handed her the cleaned-up phone. She entered the password, only to discover that all the social media accounts had been cleared. All the contacts were deleted. The only name left was Zhang Yida. At the moment she saw that name, Yun Sumin broke out in a cold sweat. She spent a long time mentally preparing herself before finally gathering enough courage. She tapped on the name